are in the afternoon session. It's the afternoon. I feel really privileged that I get to stand here in front of you, and especially to our director, our principal, vice principal. So one other thing is I'd like to remind you your life is just getting started, and there's so many things you are yet to see, and there's so many things you are yet to explore. And as I was given this privilege, as I was given this honor, standing in front of all of you, I was thinking on what topic I should start, on what topic I should discuss. And I'm not a PhD or anything like that. By qualification, my highest qualification would be bachelor. I did my bachelor in technology, civil engineering, and right after that, I got a job in Manipur Police Housing Corporation as a section officer, and that has been my life. So to give you a brief background, some of you must have known me. I'm also a part-time faculty in this school. I get this physics, which I absolutely love. And this year, I haven't been here, but I'll try to partake once your session starts. But now, I'll get to come here. May not be regularly, but while we are here, I hope I can impart some physics knowledge into all of you. And in this particular day, as we share this, my main theme, my main thought, I want it to revolve around science. So this doesn't necessarily mean arts aren't as important. I think arts are absolutely important, but my background is more in line with science. So I've never had much experience in arts, and I think there are many, much more qualified people to speak to you about what arts has to offer. And like I said, this session I want to talk about three things. Not a big deal, just three things, okay? Just bear with me, it won't be long. So the first thing I'd like to say, I'd like to call the first part connecting the dots, right? Connecting the dots. And on the second, I'd like to talk about love and loss. And this love and loss, by the way, it has nothing to do with romance. It has everything to do with my journey studying the subject which I thought I loved, and somewhere in the middle, I thought of giving up, but then I pushed through it, and I think it has been quite rewarding. And on the third, the bridge between wonder and impact. So those are the three things that I'd like to highlight on this day. So sometimes when I start speaking, I get to be quite fast. So if I go a little fast, please let me know. You know, we can slow it down. There's no hurry. And okay, let me draw my notes on the notes that I made. So yes, I'm not quite natural. So sometimes when I speak in public, I need to have certain sense of roadmap. Else I might get lost. You know, we might start here and I don't know where we will reach. So sometimes I have to have a roadmap. So once again, I'm honored to be here, to be speaking to all of you. And to you might call yourselves students, but to me, you are future thinkers, you know, creators, and maybe even a few scientists. We never know. We might have new scientists coming up in this same group, maybe after 5 years, 10 years. And today I want to tell you those three stories. And some of them will get very personal, and that's okay, that's a part of life. And connecting the dots, and going back to my life, I'd say I was always a little bit of a curious kid. You know, a little curious kid. I wouldn't call myself the top of the class or anything. I wasn't any of that. I did descend, like I wasn't the last, but nor I was the first. Now and then I might get first rank, but if you look at my past records, I think I was maybe a little bit above average, but that was pretty much me. But one thing about me that I would say, when I look back, that I find quite unique, in a sense, is I was always curious. You know, I had this tendency to always question stuff. And sometimes I would annoy my teachers. and that happens. Even in my engineering years, one of my colleagues, professors, not scolded me, but sometimes I tend to ask these questions that are completely out of the box, and sometimes the teachers can find it annoying, but again, that's me. And I never like confining myself in the textbook itself, for better or for worse. I always wanted to explore what the world has to offer, right? Why, for example, why the grass is green, or why the sky is blue. Those kind of things when you are young, it is quite mesmerizing when you think about it. Like, as you grow up in life, you tend to learn a lot of physics, a lot of trigonometry, and somehow all these questions will start to make sense. But the initial part, when you are 5, 6 years old, right now, you are all going to start your class 11. And if I were to ask you, what is your aim in life? You have a lot of aim in your life. Some may say you want to be doctors, we'll have some engineers, we'll have some professor, lawyer, so many career paths ahead. And coming back to what our Ma'am Gabriel said, you have to start narrowing down your vision. When you are young, you are full of potential. When you are young, you are full of potential, and if someone asks you what you want to be, I want to be an IAS officer. Okay, cool. But now, what I want you to do is, I want you to start reflecting on your life. Just don't dream walk into your life. Because right now, you're class 11, and before you know it, you'll be class 12, and then you'll be appearing your board exam. And you'll be staying in this same campus only for the next 2 years. And after that, you will all be set in your life. So, whatever has happened in the past, I don't want that to be any baggage in what your future holds. Don't let your past hinder you from what you can become. Maybe up to class 10, you might have struggled with physics, you might have struggled with chemistry, you might have struggled with pole science, whatever. But once you have decided to pursue arts or science in class 11 and 12, I want you to be that serious about what you're doing. If you are saying, I want to be a doctor, start focusing on biology, chemistry, physics. Without those subjects, you will never be able to crack your NEET UC exam. So those kind of things. What lies ahead of you? Please don't sleepwalk through your life, okay? Because time will move quite fast, and before you know it, it will all be over. And at the end of the day, you are going to look back and wish, I wish I had studied more. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. Please don't be in that situation, because there's nothing more painful than the pain of regret in life. And again, in this stage of life, so we are all in you are all in the springtime of life, I suppose. I may be wrong, but the literature students, some of you who are into Shakespeare, like there are 4 stages of life, right? I say you are pretty much in your springtime, and this is the time where it is fun, and you'll never know how time went by. But again, in the springtime, you come back to the story of the grasshopper and the ants. Please don't waste it just singing, dancing. Be like the ant. You have to work hard in that process, so that when autumn comes, when winter comes, you will have food in your house. So that when winter comes, you won't die of starvation. So now you are in the spring and summer of your life. This is the time to toil, to work hard, to study as much as you can, to explore as much as you can, to explore as much hobby as possible. So there's one thing that I always tell people. I always encourage students to explore your hobbies as well. I don't want you to be confined to only books. That is something that I draw personally from. So today if you come, even though I'm speaking here, and like I said, I feel super honored that I got this privilege. You might be wondering, me operating the camera and everything, because videography is something that has always been a passion. Like I'm not some good filmographer or anything, but it is a hobby that I've always been into as far as I can remember. Like even back in the day when we used to have those Nokia phone with 0.3 megapixel, I've always loved recording events and stuff like that and just keeping it. And those are the things, so like I'm very passionate in music, like I also like to play the guitar, those kind of things. And that is something that I would encourage to you, dear students. Like if you have any hobby, please don't cut it. Explore that as well, but at the same time, you also pay attention to your studies. We are all a collective of all these hobbies, all these things that we study, that makes us who we are. And that will be your opinion for your future, for the life that is ahead of you. And sometimes it will not make sense. It will not make sense, definitely. You might be interested in dancing, and your parents might say, how is this related to you becoming a doctor? You might be interested in music, but how is this related to becoming an engineer, right? But again, one thing that I've learned, like I'm not a master musician by any stretch of the imagination, but being a hobby, I like to explore music theory now and then. But one thing I realize is, like it is so intertwined with mathematics. So someone who is very much into music, like if you can kind of relate that with mathematics, like it's such a beautiful pattern that you can draw. And that is one of the reasons why I said that connecting the dot in this age of curiosity, don't worry about finding the answer. Like, okay, if you see a remote, maybe try to break that down and try to explore. You may not be able to fix the remote, you may not be able to fix the phone, but still try to see what is underneath those circuits, those kind of things. Because we can only connect the dots looking backward. Right now, a lot of things that is going on in your life, will not make sense at all. But after 5 years, after 10 years, when you look back, everything will start to fit in like a jigsaw puzzle. And that is very beautiful. But you wouldn't be able to have that jigsaw puzzle to solve if you didn't explore anything in your youth. So explore your talent, explore your interests, but in the meantime, you should never forsake your studies for those. Those are things that will complement you towards your dream. But again, it should all come back to the main structure. And the main structure is you want to pay attention in your studies, because you can never come back and study again. So in this 11 and 12, that would be it. So, coming back to the prospect of science, I think one of the reasons why I really like science is it helps me connect the dot in life. So you don't have to know what you do for the rest of your life, but it's just that whatever you do, have trust in what you do, have faith, and above all, be sincere. Like if you're studying, be sincere in whatever you do, and it's like that proverb, a person who tries to catch us. Again, when you look at all this life, it is a fine balance. Confucius once said, like, a person who tries to catch two hares catches none. That is also true. But at the same time, we also have this quote that says, a master of all, a jack of all trades, master of none. And I think this quote is usually misrepresented, right? Because if you look at the full quotation, it says, jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than master of one. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, it's okay to be a master of one thing, but again, in life, with so many things going on, sometimes it's good to be jack of all trades. Like, jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than master of one. Because when you have so many variety of things that you can do, your employment prospect or anything, I think that is much more promising in certain way. And okay, coming to the second point, I think I'd love to talk about love and loss, right? The second story is about love and loss. So this is I think this will be something that we will all experience, like when you are in love, right? When you are in love, not necessarily with a person, when you are in love with an idea, with something. At the initial stage, it was very exciting. You know, it feels like, okay, I think this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. But one thing that we don't usually see is there are many setbacks that will eventually come in our way, hardships, and that will make the journey much more challenging. So in situations like that, the victor and the victim, what separates them? The victor is the one who pushes through those challenges. So right now, as you're embarking in your journey, you will find many setbacks, many challenges. And my question to you is, do you love that idea enough to push through that? So, your career, whatever you do in your future ahead, that will be a big part of your life. So once you are done with your classroom, some people will go for medical coaching, some people might go for engineering, some people might go for BA, some people might go for graduation, SSC exams, so many options. But again, your time will keep on peaking. And you might say, okay, I'm still young, I still have a lot of time ahead. But before you know it, 10 years will go by. You know? Yes, this is quite a heavy topic, and some of you might be wondering why I'm speaking about this, but I've been in your stage, I've been in the same place that you've been, and like the mindset that we have then, everything is so promising, everything feels so, the world is for us for the taking, and that is a very good attitude, and I'm not trying to diminish any of it, but again, you should realize that as much as you have that dream, you should be willing to go for it. You should be willing to push for it. Like even if you are on the right track, you will get run over by people if you just stand there without doing nothing. So please take that in mind. And you know, one other thing is, I used to love reading biographies. I love reading biographies. You know, I think biographies are quite phenomenal in a way, because like when you read biography of, let's say, Albert Einstein or Isaac Newton, you know, Isaac Newton is pretty much my favorite human being of all time, to be honest. I think he changed human civilization to such an extent that I used to joke to people, like, if I were not a Christian, I might probably worship Isaac Newton. Now that is the level of admiration I have for Sir Isaac Newton. And Albert Einstein, you know, great physicist, great scientist. Max Planck, like if you are looking at women like Marie Curie, so many inspiring personalities in history that drove humanity forward. So right now we are using all these smartphones, all these vehicles. How are all this possible? You know, when you look at history, you have that industrial revolution, and if you look at biology, you have all this advancement in medical science. Like only a few hundred years back, people were dying of simple diseases, like pneumonia killed a lot of people. Now, I'm not saying pneumonia has stopped killing people, but it is easily treatable. And even smallpox, it has been eradicated. So many things that has happened. Okay, all of the things, all of the miracles that have happened in our life because of the infrastructure that we have built with science and maths and other subjects. So these are things worth appreciating. So as a student, don't simply look at the car as it is. You know, this car was invented by human being. So this phone was invented by human being. This fan, this building was constructed by human being. So when you look at all those wonderful things, you will start to appreciate, okay, science is not just some formula that I study, maths is not some calculation that is useless to my life. And sadly, this seems to be the trend. Like many of the students, maybe like when we study, we see it as an exam, as a barrier that we have to pass. Maths no longer become this magical tool that we have that helps us build all these cool skyscrapers, that sends human to the moon, that is about to send us to Mars. It no longer becomes that tool, but it becomes more like a hindrance to our time, more like a waste of time. And I think that is really tragic. I want you to really dive into this subject. And even me, just coming back to my personal story, when I started my engineering, I finished my 12 from Harvard School, 2016. And then in 2016 itself, maybe by God's grace, I don't know how I did it, but I got into an engineering college without wasting any year. And from 2016, I started my BTech journey, and I graduated in 2020, right? 2020, which was COVID. 2021, I spent some time in Chennai, and 2022, I joined Manipur Police Housing Corporation, and I've been there since. And one thing is, when I started my engineering course, I had a lot of questions because, like ma'am said, we are in that stage in life when we are 18, 19. You feel you are the smartest person in the world. You know, you feel you know everything, and you look at these teachers and you're like, how? You just judge them. Like, how is this person even a teacher? Like, you know, that kind of attitude that we have. And even in my engineering years, like, I used to have this unhealthy superiority complex, right? Attitude. Like, sometimes I would just there was a teacher who was stuttering a lot, and we would mock and those kind of stuff. And I do regret it now, but it was how it was back then. And even our college course, we have all this, like in civil engineering, you have a lot of subjects. You have geotechnical engineering, soil mechanics, fluid mechanics. That the fluid mechanics is where we study about water, how water behaves. Soil mechanics, those are things where we study about soils. So many subjects. And then we have RCC, reinforced concrete cement. You have steel design. So we can go on forever. Like, it is roughly like 40 subjects along with the practical. So it is quite a hectic course. And then, you know, yes, for the first year, we also had to do a subject called engineering mathematics. So this is like a very advanced mathematics. And when you are in that stage in life, just out of class 12, your idea of engineering is, okay, I want to build stuff. I want to build all this cool stuff. And then you go to college, and all you do is all this maths equation. Like, what is this? You know, you are in your first year, you don't know how to build your house, you don't know what it takes to build a house, but all you do is solve maths. And then as you go down the road, you look at all these hat mysteries. You know, these people who are building houses, and you're like, this person doesn't know any maths formula, but he's able to build all these houses. Maybe what I'm learning in college is just a waste of time. You know, things happen. And I'd say I also had that phase, right, where I started questioning the institution, like, why are we, maybe the whole system is outdated. Like, why do I need to solve all this Laplace transformation, Fourier series, convergent, divergent, extrapolation, all this differential integration? Like, why do I need all this? But little did I know, you know, as you go down and as you work in the field, everything is mathematics. Like, each and every minute details, all the software that we use, it is deeply rooted in mathematics. And once if this mathematics happened to fail, all of the structure would not have stood. That is how deeply ingrained mathematics is in our day-to-day life. So the reason why I'm sharing you this is, I'm sure many of you are also in that situation in life. You look at all this trigonometry, and once you come to class 12, you start dealing with inverse trigonometry, differentiation, integration, and statistics, probability. And right now, it will not make sense to you. But what I want to tell you is, but trust the syllabus, trust what has been given to you, and just study. Don't question too much. Whatever is in your curriculum, whatever is in your syllabus, please pay attention to what the teacher is teaching in the class, what is there in your textbook. Just study, and after 5 years, after 10 years, you will look back and you will thank yourself. Please don't be rebellious for the sake of being rebellious. I don't need this in my life. No, please don't do that. Whatever is in the curriculum, biology, all science, whatever subject it may be, please trust your teacher. Please trust your syllabus, and please pay attention and be sincere in it. And after 5 years, after 10 years, you'll be able to connect the dots, right? And then, that is also one of the things, right? When I was in my engineering college, maybe the second or the third year, that was one of the point where, you know, the pressure starts cracking, and maybe this is not for me. You know, that thinking will eventually pop up when you are in that, when you are in group. And even me, I was thinking maybe I should just drop out. I should just drop out, you know, do some PA and appear for maybe perhaps SSC banking exams. I think that would be much better. Like even engineering, there's no scope. Like there's no scope after graduation. Everyone, India is producing this much of engineering, only this much is employable. So those kind of statistics, temptation, you can call it the devil, or you know, this temptation will start crawling. And I was also like highly tempted to do it, but then I had to. But one other thing was maybe I think it was also the family situation, right? I mean, none of us here, we are the sons of Bill Gates or anything like that. We don't have that luxury to drop out. So whatever we chose, I was already in my third year, second year. So for me to drop out at that stage, like it just didn't make sense, as tempting as it was. But then, you know, it was like that. I had a very challenging stage in my college life. And that is also one of the reasons why I didn't go for further studies. Maybe I got fed up to a certain extent. And then, luckily, I got to be in a workforce. So, if you ever go to Senapati, and if you reach SCI go down, like in that Bayang region, if you were to look at your right side, going from Kampong, you'll see a lot of white buildings, big buildings. That is Indian Institute of Information Technology. So that is currently my project, right? And I go there, and you know, like I said, all those mathematics that I learned, all those formulas that I learned back then, it only started making sense not when I was in college, but when I started working. And right now, even I take personal projects in my name, right? So if someone wants to build a house, they want this much story, they want this design, then they can come to me. I can draw their blueprint, I can give them 3D rendering, or I can even give all the structural analysis. So all of those things are not done by my brain. None of those things are done by my brain or by common sense. Everything is done by mathematics. So when I'm doing all the structural analysis, or when I'm doing all these detailed estimates in my book, I don't want you to think like I'm so smart that I'm able to do all this. No, I'm not smart. I'm just an average guy who happened to know the mathematical formula that I need to use to solve this problem or solve that problem. That is the only thing. It's all mathematics. Nothing from my brain. It's all the mathematical formulas that I memorized or I know, you know, that I use. And okay, coming to the third, the bridge between wonder and impact. Okay, this would be something that I want to draw from a personal story. Back I was in college, I had a friend from UP. His name was Nityanan Tiwari. This gentleman, he was like super young. He was in the electrical branch, I was in the civil branch. And right now I think he's a big officer in MPHC. if I'm not mistaken, I think it is National Thermal Power Corporation Limited. So, there in college, this guy, he never had much friend, but he was top of the class. Any mathematical problem you had, this guy from UP, he was like, he could solve everything. But again, he was very weird, right? He was very weird. And he tried to do this weird experiment in his room. And we used to have this Tech Expo, Tech Festival every year, college festival. And that is a festival where we invite outside students, or sometimes the college students, the one in the college, we can do all this science project and we can showcase the people. And one thing that I always recall about Nitin in particular was, he was building a fridge. Okay, he was building a refrigerator by himself. And this refrigerator was a makeshift refrigerator. He took all these parts, I don't know from wherever he took, but the lock for fridge, what he did was, he took it from the college toilet. So that, and then this kind of thing, it is not ethical, but again, what he did was, he didn't have the resource, so his fridge was really unique. Like, when I think about it, it was the only fridge that has the lock of a door, you know? So you have this fridge, and if you want to lock it, like you have to lock it with the lock you use at house, in the house. Like, it was surreal, you know, it was quite, when he made that, it was like, it was so weird, but again, it was really cool. And there's so many projects like that we used to meet, right? And one of my friends, he was very talented in electronics, and he would create all this cool stuff. Like, even though we were all engineers, like studying pursuing engineers, there were few people, I'd say, who were pretty much outstanding. Like, they really had this talent in them. And first year, second college, some of them, they pretty much were able to build their own drones, you know? And some of them, they were able to build everything automatic. Like, we weren't able to do it in the big scale, but one of my friends, he built this prototype, and it's and everything in that house, from the door, the lighting, to everything, it was controlled from phone, right? So these were pretty amazing times, you know? And sometimes when I college, yes, there were many hard stuff, like, you know, during the exam time especially, we had to, sometimes we would study the whole night without sleeping. And my first day in college, one of my teachers said, in engineering college you will learn everything. In engineering college you will learn everything except engineering. That was how he welcomed us into the college. And at the end of the college, I think he was like maybe mostly right. We learned a lot of things in college, but except the course that we chose to study. I think when I reflect at all those things that happens, it really shows how science is able to bridge that gap. You know, curiosity and real world output. I think it really shows you how science has always been a part of my life, and I feel really blessed that I get to just walk through this journey. And dear students, I'm not saying all of you should opt for it, but whoever is opting, even if you are going for arts, please be very sincere. Like, we need more political science thinkers, we need more social thinkers in life. Please don't go for it for the sake of going. And if you are going for science, please study in such a way that after college, whatever dreams you have, maybe doctors, engineers, or scientists, research scholars, you are able to bring that into fruition for your sake and for the community. And how many minutes have I been speaking? 10? I hope I'm not boring you too much. Okay, I won't take long. This we are coming to the concluding part of it. Okay, no big deal. And I want to leave you with this. Okay, I want to leave you with this. You are standing on the edge of possibility in life. You don't have it all figured out, but you have curiosity about how the world works. Follow it. Follow that curiosity. Let it burn. Let it consume you. Let it make you feel alive. Worship it. I don't like. Just be crazy for it. And don't pick your subject, whether it be science or arts, because it sounds impressive. That is it. I don't want to give you any wrong notion that this is impressive, that is not impressive. Don't pick your subject because you think, like, if I pick this subject, people will think I am cool or people will think I'm impressive. No, not like that. Or because your parents say so. Take it if it calls you. Okay? Take it if your heart races when you look through a microscope or when you look at the stars, when you watch a robot movie, or a heartbeat on ultrasound. Those kind of things. Like, if you feel alive when you look at the stars at night, maybe I think you are born to be an astronomer. And if you feel alive when you go to the hospital and see a baby or a baby being delivered, or a person that is pure, I think you are born to be a doctor. Or when you feel alive looking at your smartphone, not the reels, but the smartphone. How does this work? How does the internet work? When those questions makes you feel alive, maybe you are destined to be a computer engineer. Right? So those kind of things. What makes you feel alive? I'm sure you all have something that makes you feel alive. But maybe for boys, if what makes you feel alive is only girls, then there are also boys like that, right? But again, that's a joke. Whatever makes you feel alive, you discover that and just push through it, and trust whatever you do. Have faith in yourself and in the world. And a few years down the line, you'll be able to look back and you'll learn to connect the dots. We can't connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect them looking backwards. And if you stay curious, if you stay scientific, maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one to change the world. So, I think it was Sir Vice Principal, or Principal Man, who said about changing the world before, changing the community, and serving people. Yes, thank you. And I think that is something that we could all aspire. And changing the community doesn't mean you should become MLA, you should be always big shot. And when I was in college, I came across this quotation, and it says, like, when I was young, I wanted to change the world. And, okay, pay attention. When I was young, I wanted to change the world. Just like your stage. All of you want to become an IAS, you want to become big officers. I'm sure none of you wants to become an auto driver. No, I'm not trying to build up any job, but that is the stage that we are in. And when I was young, I wanted to change the world, and then I realized the world was too big for me to change. And then I wanted to change my nation, and then I realized the nation was too big for me to change. And then I wanted to change my community, my society. And then I realized that my community and society was too big for me to change. And then I wanted to change my family. And then I realized I couldn't change my family. And then I wanted to change myself. But by then, it was already too late. Okay? So if you want to change the world, and the point of this story is, at last you realize, if I had changed myself first, maybe with my influence I could have changed my family. And maybe with my family I could have impacted the society and the community. And maybe with that community I might have impacted the state. Or just like that, with that state, maybe the nation, and with that nation, maybe the world. And who knows, I might have ended up changing the world. So, that is the story. We need to start small, and I'm really glad that our ma'am Gabriela also shared the word about Robert Frost. He's one of my favorite poet of all time. And then, even me, I would like to close this speech, or how would we call this? I would like to close this with a poem from Robert Frost himself, Sleeping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening. And the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. And that is something I have it ingrained in my mind. And you should all find a poem or a line that sticks to you, that speaks to you, have it there too in your mind. When life becomes hard, when life becomes too challenging, you can always console yourself with that quote. And I repeat, the woods are lovely, dark and deep. I want to stay here forever. I want to be here forever. And even you students, you will say, I want to be students forever. But again, that is not how life is going to be. You can, even if you want to hold on to that student life, within 2 years, you'll be marching into adulthood. Some of you will go for college, and after third year, some of you might go for masters, some of you might go for PhDs. But again, some of you, after job, you might get married. See, that is how life works. Nothing will be constant. But as much as I love staying in this phase of my life, I know I will not be here forever. Life will happen. And I have promises to keep. And you, dear students, you have promises to keep. Not to me, not to your teachers, not to anyone, but most importantly, to your parents. Your parents trusted you. Your parents believe in you. And if you are willing to disappoint yourself, even if you are okay with disappointing yourself, always remember your parents. Your parents are back home. They are hoping that one day sending you to this school will make a life out of you. And always remember that. Always remember your parents. Always remember your well-wishers. Even if you are willing to disappoint yourself, think of how that decision will impact your life. Like even me back in college, if it were not for my mom, I don't know, maybe I might have dropped out, or I might have done something I might have regret. But that idea that if I were to do this, how hurt this person will be. And when you do that, and when you're studying, when you are not feeling like studying, think of your parents' wish. Think of the sacrifice that they have made, bringing you into this world, raising you up to this stage in life. Please. And my closing remark will be, stay curious, stay scientific, and we'll face life as it comes together, marching forward. Thank you.